أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا حي على الصلاة على الفلاح الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله أحمده واستعينه واستهديه واستغفره وأؤمن به جل وعلا ولا أكفره وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله ليظهره على الدين كله ولو كره المشركون. All praise belongs to Allah. Seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve Him. Is a servant and messenger. Allah sent Him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. This way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. The most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. So it's said that in Islam we hope for muttaqi leadership, that is, leadership that is blessed with taqwa, which is a rarity today. The best way of life is the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. The best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. The worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The best acts are the ones that yield benefits. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Alhamdulillah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khairul mursalin Muhammadin nabi al-ummi wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ijma'in. Amma ba'd. يقول الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا سلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا مولانا عليه السلام. This is from 1983, 1983, and it says, Islam, the true religion, or at this time the black liberation was trailing and they had liberation theology going on down in, a lot of y'all wouldn't remember, But it was which adhered to a part of the Bible that has fighting in it. Because remember, the 66 books in the Protestant, 72 in the Catholic rendition, Apocrypha or Maccabees. And in Maccabees, trust a little bit in fighting for liberation. So, this is 1983, in the midst of various forms of liberation, African liberation, right? And Latin American liberation, very popular in those days. We say Islam is the true liberation. So if we said then, that's what we mean now. And at that time, black liberation was very popular, going on the behind the 60s. The concept really into the 90s of black liberation. What we wanted to say, and we made it, Islam is the true liberation. Liberation through discipline, and we were saying that because the African liberation movement, and the main flaw was discipline, and we would call it. One of the big leaders in Oakland, a sister was sent to go get him ready for. Old sister had to run around the house for over a half hour fighting off sexual assault. Not that he was supposed to go and give a struggle on speech on liberation and freedom. And if a Negro couldn't free his penis, I don't want to use vulgar, was saying in Jahiliyyah, that nigga there, he won't never be nothing. And every now and then somebody would reply, although they knew the answer, be nothing. Because he's too kind, the vulgar word, he's too kind to his penis. You can't, I mean, in the big life, you got, if you like that, if you weak for women, every one of your competitors, when you get bigger, they're going to drop girls on you in a hurry. They're going to drop them on you anyway. But kind to your private parts, that means submissive to your private parts, right? Then you can fall prey. But use the same people that they put on you to turn them back on them, right? Because you're on your job, you're on your game. But I'm sorry to say that the liberation was too kind to their penis. Not only in America, but can you imagine, I read some of the stories about what one of the leaders said, mine. So he used another word, but he said vagina got us put out. The niggas was running out in Algeria, they was wearing niqab then. I mean, so you could know where they was coming from. They was wearing niqab in the 50s, in the 60s, and the 70s. And in the desert areas, they always wore niqab. But in the city, it was still a custom. You would see customs like someone would have a French mini dress on, but she still had niqab attitude. So if you hit on them, you wouldn't get nowhere. You know, if you went to a nightclub, boy, did we hate nightclubs. You know why? It wasn't nothing but men in there drinking tea. And we said, man, it ain't no action here. That's the way the Negro thought. This ain't no action here, because why you go to a nightclub? To catch, to pick up, to do all of those things, right? So before we could have a true liberation, we had to liberate ourselves from Negroism through faith, through discipline, through self-control, through self-management. We had to get control of ourselves, or we would never be able to liberate anybody else, because we were a slave, a servant to our own nafs, right? It just makes sense like that. So that's why Islam is the true liberation, because of the character of Islam. It has in it the forces that help you capture and challenge and subdue your own nafs. So until you can subdue your own nafs, you can't be free, because your nafs will, majority of the time, be used by the shaitan to control and to manipulate you, right? So that's why the Quran refers to he was a servant to his nafs. That means he was a servant to shaitan. So we have here Islam, the true liberation, liberation through faith, through Iman. Some of the things that it talks about: liberation and faith, sacrifice and discipline. Then we come on up to how to punk the FBI. This is recently. Now you might think, what does all that have to do with have inside of the United States is the FBI? The greatest enemy that struggling peoples have, international spy network, right? And those are the networks like CIA, FBI, and all those people, which are all sisters and brothers to each other. So the CIA had a program 57, which could destabilize, or 87, which could destabilize any country in Africa with less than 87 people. And all of us knew that. It's probably still in effect. Those were the days of Idi Amin. And everybody in Africa loved Idi Amin. But he was hated in the West. Y'all may not remember Idi Amin. Boy, but they hated him because he'd sit in one of them king chairs and have 4 white folks carrying him. This is in the 70s. You talk about white folks being mad. They were mad at old Idi. And they let him die in Saudi Arabia, but the Saudis had him promise, you can't say nothing. He passed away a few years back, but you never heard a peep out of him, because the Saudis, suppose he was raising Cain about evil, and he in Saudi Arabia. Well, he ain't got too far to reach out to, right? In Saudi Arabia. But let me go back to how to punk the FBI. How to punk the FBI is a program that we had here, and we still have. But it's a program of standing up in front of evil, and you know evil is there all around you. And you stand up and you say, you guys ain't nothing but a bunch of punks and sissies. I mean, in our language, you know what that means. You ain't nothing but a bunch of punks and sissies. Y'all ain't nothing. On and on. That's what we did from right here. And all they could do is unscrew our cars and flatten our tires and mess up things around here. That's all they can do because we done jumped out in front of them. With all the stuff coming out of Oakland, while we jumped all in front of Boss Man, and we made so much chit-chat that he was trapped, or we trapped him by his own past behavior. If something happened to us, why they said they know that, so we could talk trash, all the trash we want. So you might say, well, what y'all... Okay, let me give you just a little surface example, which if you think we was passing out meals not long ago over in and so they saw what was going on, and we had a line around the corner. You know, like y'all get down there, y'all won't get them this week. Don't start hollering. But as soon as we get a little rest, you know, we've been kind of cruising a little. I mean, not no vacation or nothing. So there ain't nothing down there to eat. Don't jump up and down. Of course, if you want to cook some yourself, you can get it out and put it on the stove. But anyway, don't pass out. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked, do you want to be a king prophet or a servant prophet? He said, I want to be a servant prophet, you know. So that's what he was. And if the question was asked, what kind of imam you want to be? You want to be a big time leader running your mouth up there, you know, with a big microphone, getting all them takbirs, or you want to be a servant, a worker for the people? Well, I chose a worker for the people. So if people say to me, them niggas don't care about the food you fix, well, I don't care whether you like it or not, because I get all the blessings anyway. Isn't that right? I mean, if you like it, that's great. If you don't like it, then that's the way it goes. But I still, it's not being selfish, I still get my blessings because that's what the Hadith and the Quran guarantee, right? That you give and you keep on giving. And you can't outgive Allah because Allah gave you everything you got, right? Allah gave us that. And then Allah will hook you up with things where everybody need what you got. Like right now, people can't afford nothing. That's why we want to hurry up and get food back out there. And I guess y'all know about inflation. Good God Almighty. Inflation of the 70s, which I never thought was possible. They used to have a thing you could buy. It was called a hedge against inflation, a little hedge. You know how white folks make money off anything. And a hedge against inflation was supposed to be a protection. So they had a real little hedge, a clipped hedge, and they sold that probably $500-600 each. It's a regular little hedge. And they sold it to the dumb white folks. I hope there no Negroes buy it. And they called, this is a hedge against inflation. It didn't stop nothing. Your inflation, it didn't divert nothing. But because it was a hedge against inflation, the dummies went down. Y'all may not remember. It was in the late 80s, time like that. So, against inflation. So for now, till we get one, and we'll give it out free when we get it, and when y'all go away, you're going to have to pay the regular price, which is heartbreaking. Can you imagine now? Think about it. Pay $15 an hour. Good God Almighty, boy, we can't hardly afford that. How many groceries? If you buy $15 worth of groceries, now any real, when you walk out the store, You can't even set off the alarm or nothing. Right? If you walked out of the store with a bag full of unpaid groceries, it wasn't but $15, the alarm wouldn't even go off. Tell the truth. It's insane. It's impossible what they charging people right now. So maybe we'll get back into that hedge against inflation. We're going to get maybe we buy a little truck full of hedges and charge $500 what they was charging then. Now, a portion of what Allah mentions for you, Allah becomes your feet and He carries you where you want to go. Your hand to protect yourself, your eyes to see where you're going. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala becomes your protection, right? And it's the same thing in this. Everybody tell us, man, y'all better take it easy over there. You're going to get the white man mad. Calling him a bunch of punks. Why, he is a punk. He's a sissy. And the only one talking to Germany, and then the great Russian winter came. Temperature North Pole and everything, and it gets almost frozen to death out alive. Winter. And now, and oil. And don't buy last Jum'ah. Is parade all logical guerrilla warfare plays off of physical guerrilla warfare, where a small group, and as they fight them, build up their weapons. They build. Then when it comes time for a big push, they've captured, if any of y'all have seen movies like, and they would say your weapons are out. Struggle into psychological. We're adapting. If they got a patrol of 10, you have 100 people, you take their weapons. So long that you build up your army, right? You build up your weapons and you build up your manpower until you're able to meet them face to face on the battlefield. Well, how to punk the FBI? Psychological guerrilla warfare. And it's out in front. They can't do nothing about it. They can turn a little key, take the little, punch a hole in the tire, but they can't do nothing because everybody watching, right? Oh, if something happened to old poor Imam Musa, everybody say, man, that's cold. The government knocked the brother over and all he did was make fun of him, right? Right? That's what everybody gonna say. And then everybody said, man, old boss man is mean. He don't have no streak of fun or joke in him. He get mad. But now, we're not dealing with old boss man who we know pretty well. We dealing directly with the Zionists, right? The Zionists implementing their program in the Middle East is blistering murder. Who would want to stand under the blistering murder of the Zionist murdering machine? And it's not you and I know it, everybody know it. They used to associate South Africa with the Zionists, right? Apartheid and Zionism. I don't know if y'all remember that. All right. Now here's what we're saying. Right now, we're in another level of warfare recently. Spiritual warfare. Mind. Why would you choose mind? Sometimes you can look at the leadership and see what's happening in the body. Isn't that right? When you look at the leadership today, what do you see? Insanity, Biden running around like he got his head cut off. He ain't even acting like a chicken with his head cut off. He acting like a buffoon, a clown, right? That's what he's acting like right now. That's Joe Biden. That's the leader. So the leader is his leadership characteristics is going to feed down into the body of people. And they say, we'll loan the people $4 or $5 and we'll spend trillions on the war in Ukraine. Isn't that right? That's what they say. And that means you can't get no job. You got the inflation. You got to pay for everything. You can't send your children to school, right? You cannot do basically anything. You can't even hardly ride the bus. And then they argue whether they should pay you or them or that $15 an hour. What can you buy with $15? Raise your hand. You can't even count it hardly. Go to the store, right, and spend $15. It ain't nothing in there below $5 or $10. That means you can buy 2 or 3 items for $15, right? And he's just cruising along like, we did y'all a favor. We thinking about next year getting $15 an hour for y'all. And $35 million for a 4-year degree, or 40, 50, let's make it what it really is. We're going to let your children go to school, and we're going to let them borrow $50,000 for a 3.5 or 4-year degree, and they're going to have to pay back zillion% interest, which they'll be working on that poor job they get, right? Because remember now, they bragging about, it's not the old days, they bragging about, oh, we get them $15 an hour, right? How many years, how many decades will it take you? How many hours will you work to pay back? Don't go to medical school. Oh, no, just don't do that, I'm saying. And don't get no real full 6-year degree, much less an 8-year degree. 8-year degree, you know how much an 8-year degree is going to cost? You can't figure it out right now without a calculator. But an 8-year degree now, how much interest will that cost you? $1 zillion. Not $1 million, $1 zillion at least. Don't worry, they don't have $1 zillion now, but they're going to invent it. You're going to need something in between $1 trillion, right, and $1 billion. That's going to be how much you owe, $1 zillion, right between $1 trillion and $1 billion. That's what you're going to owe to go to school, not to eat and not to live. And now we want to get back to the time in which we live. I want to mention that the Russian winter drove Napoleon back, the greatest army in those days. The Russian winter froze the Wehrmacht, the German army. When they wanted to punish you in Germany, they said, we're going to send you to the Eastern Front. That's the Russian front, right? And the Russians fought so hard that they had killed 27. You never heard that. You always heard about D-Day here in America. Remember that, y'all? D-Day, D-Day, D-Day. About 5 people on Omaha Beach got killed. But the Russians, which won that whole European theater, you never heard about them. I used to like watching war films. I never heard about the Russians till a few years back. Right? I went to a movie a few years ago called Enemy at the Gate, something like that. It was a movie about Stalingrad. It was a DVD. That's when much as I know about history, I didn't know about that. I didn't know why in history, all the Germans would panic. Eastern Front, oh, boss man, you ain't going to send me over there with them Russians. Well, the Russians lost over 27, 28 million people, but they broke the back of the mighty German army. Now we're going to have that in reverse. The Russian winter is upon us. I'm telling you, at the end of this month, it'll be November in a minute, hot minute, it's going to start freezing. They done told the Germans, cut down your production, and cut off that pipeline and buy our oil and what have you at a $50 billion a gallon or tube. That means the German economy is going to go broke. Britain already having strikes. Anybody read about the British strike? Britain strikes, railroad strikes and everything. What about you ain't got no money not only to keep them railroad cars warm, but to run them next month? Right? Unemployment. What's happened is, I want you to look at the global situation. Because the West has led the global world in recent times, it has led the world into a warfare period, because the only way, maybe y'all heard about Eisenhower, he said, beware of the military-industrial complex. Does anybody remember that? This is 1960 when he's leaving. He was a 5-star general. This man was the commander of U.S. forces, right, in Europe. MacArthur was the control of U.S. forces in the Pacific. The Atlantic was Eisenhower. 15 years later, when he retired, he said, beware of the military-industrial complex, that there is a structure as an organization born in the U.S. military that sucks the American money dry. Since then, the American production have went up producing military weapons. America makes money off war, nothing else, right? America does not make money off anything but war. Now, you can talk about us all you want. If you love your children, if you love your wives and family, you would jump on board with us. Because you may get busted upside the head on the side every now and then. I'm not promising, just join up and it ain't going to be no. That would be a misrepresentation of the time in which we live. But if you die fighting for freedom, justice, and equality, you died an honorable death. Yeah. If you die watching Channel 5, a box of popcorn in front of you, you got to remember, you are in charge of them right now. What you do now prepares the future for them, your wives and children. That's what your job is. And you can do what you want. I'm not going down that road, that sweetie pie road. I'm going down the road how to punk the FBI, psychological guerrilla warfare. And then now, so you understand where we are now today, psycho-spiritual warfare. That's what we're doing here. That's what we're doing in Oakland. That's what our movement stands for. Psycho-spiritual warfare. We didn't prove that psychological guerrilla warfare works. What does that mean? What does the enemy not have? That's what you want to fight with, right? You don't want to say, well, he got bombs and everywhere, so we're going to use. No. You're psycho-spiritual warfare. He's weak-minded. Look at the president running around. Look at the Congress. Weak-minded, right? All of them weak-minded, weak-brained. So they don't have a psychological balance and struggle. Spiritual, they lost that. They can't do nothing with that. They ain't even got none. That's why we fight them psycho-spiritual warfare. We fight them with what they ain't got. You want to fight them with atomic bombs, you ain't going nowhere. Right? But the boy don't have no defense against us. So you think that nigga just stand up there talking outside his mouth because the white man ain't mad. I had an agent tell me in 1979, that same thing right after the revolution. Man, the white man, that white boy, he gonna do this to them Iranians. He gonna do that. He ain't did it yet. Tell the truth. He ain't did it yet. Where's our brothers? You gotta look at what's going on. Before, we used to be all alone, out there tussling with boss man, right? But now, in this psycho-spiritual warfare, other people are joining with us. Look, agents everywhere. When I was down at the hospital down there, when they busted me upside the head, I got a call. First it was a tweet. Y'all seen a tweet from the president, right, of Iran. Then I'm down there, just before they put me under the drugs, the dope, I can't hardly. You had a phone call, Mr. Green. Who is it? My kids were there. Who is it? It's the president of Iran. Calling who? Me? Here in the United States? All he did, he knew a little English. He could say, I hope you have a good operation. The snitch was in his office, and he told him, the snitch, to call me because that'll put tons of heat, right? Just like twittering, right? If you Twitter my name, the president of Iran says, da-da-da-da-da, right? As if boss man ain't going to pick it up. So the snitches is with us and they with them. That's how we keep count of them. That's how we know. We say, the snitches want Code Pink to go, right? And so the chief tattletale gets mad. Y'all remember? When he was in Syria, they had a big meeting. And the Iranians said, well, take Code Pink with you somewhere. Y'all got to have a meeting with them. Remember that? That's what they were saying. Everybody know what's going on. So the tattletale, he's in the staff of the president of Iran. Why don't you give Imam Musa a call in the United States from the president of Iran and wish him getting well? The snitch is telling him. And so the white folks are saying, put that nigga as number 00.9 on the watch list. He's already 0.7. That's fine. But we want to know how many times a minute that nigga breathes. Right? If you're getting a call from the president of Iran, or if you're getting a tweet, anybody remember the tweet? Whatever they call them things, Hope you get well, Imam Musa, from the president of Iran. Right? I'm trying to tell you, we use all of that. We know where the snitches is at, who the tattletales is at, and we use it to throw the boss man off. See, boss man, he used to, and I'll say this and I'll move toward a close. Look, boss man is like George Foreman. All of our people, George Foreman was his fights. He'd never go more than 3-4 rounds. He'd knock niggas out. He'd knock human beings out. Right? Remember that? George never went 5, 6, 7, 8 rounds because he whooped people. The baddest guy in there, he went 1 round. How many rounds he go with Joe Frazier? The first round. Now, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier, if one is 100, the other one is 99. Isn't that right? They was bad. Boy, old Joe had a hook. He'd be laying down looking up, tweet, 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 because one of them hooks got you. That was Joe Frazier. But Joe went in there with George. Yeah, George, I'm a bad joker. He rolled straight in there directly what George needed, and George would wind up with them big old hands. See, I know George Foreman them. His trainer is the best friend of mine. Boom, and knocked George way down the street, right? So Muhammad Ali said, he has a little more sense than that, right? Man, I was in the penitentiary when I heard the fight in 74. Man, George, the champ getting beat to death. Cause listen to it, and he's hitting them in the side, he's hitting them here, he's hitting them there. And pretty soon, round number 5, guess what happened? George is, and then Muhammad says, oh, George, good God Almighty, you're not getting tired, are you? Better catch your breath there, brother. And he kept on. I hit him a couple of more real hard blows. Now, George Foreman said Muhammad Ali said those punches that he was getting hit in the elbow by George Foreman was vibrating all the way up in his head. They was pretty serious. But they was wearing old George out, right? Come round number 7, was that round number 7? Something like that. Could have been 8, wasn't no longer than that. Muhammad Ali come out, brrr, and it was all over because he was tired, right? That's the way boss man getting whooped, and we whooping boss man the same way right now. I think we up in about round number 6 or 7. So if you betting on boss man, you better pull your money off now. He's ready to go. He's ready to go worldwide, I'm telling you. He's ready to go worldwide because boss man was sure nobody could go any rounds. But Iran took him up in the championship rounds. Yemen continues losing a lot of people, right? Hezbollah taking them all up in the championship rounds, right? And now, all you got to do is thump boss man. I'm telling you, that's the way he is. And that's where we are. We can talk about boss man, he can't do nothing, and so he's a punk. If he's so bad, let him come around here and do something. Besides turning the keys where the cars won't work. Yeah, come on, face us face to face, boss man, if you're so bad. Because everybody watching, man, let's see what's going to happen. This the championship rounds now. It's championship rounds because nobody black has ever taken the system where we are right now. Nobody has ever taken the system where we are now. That's just a reality. So they're in our territory. We're not in theirs. And how could the colored man do that to boss man? It just lay back, all boss man, all da-da-da-da, and coon him. We've cooned the cracker. Yes, we have, I tell you. We've cooned the cracker. There's nothing you can do about it. It's too late. The white man, the Zionists, especially them, are cooned. Yeah, we cooned him. And I used to watch it. I moved toward a close. When I was in McNeil Island, U.S. Penitentiary, not like Alcatraz, but it's an island penitentiary up in Washington. And so that's the first time I run across prisoners outside of California, because California, we had a certain idea about dealing with the police, you know. They police leave them alone. You know, the guards. But in the federal system, I was watching the old Negroes from the South. They could get anything they want from the white man, from everybody working in the. They just say, boss man, I need to get in there to get some of them prunes and some of them raisins out of the kitchen. Niggas gonna make you know what you make out of prunes and sugar, right? I mean, good God Almighty. He's gonna make a gallon or 100 gallons of wine, right? And then we need a few loaves of bread. Why I need a few loaves of bread? To soak that bread in water. Guess what happened? Yeast rise to the top. Boss man didn't know, but the Negro knew what he was getting. Oh, boss man, can I get a little box of 50, 100 pounds of them raisins in there? Make enough for get the whole penitentiary drunk. Oh, Johnny, yeah, you can go on. Now, we was from California. Say, man, let me have some. Sorry, there ain't no more left. So we watched them old Negroes from the South, all ex-chain gang Negroes. They knew how to play the white man. They used it. That's why we have boss man bites the dust. That was a favorite term. Boss man, and when you said to them dummies with your ex-military, right, people, real dummies. If you're in the military for 35 years, you got to be a dummy. Tell the truth. I hope your parents are not somebody. Anyway, it ain't my fault. Just get them out of there for the next war. No, but they was dummies. So the old Negro was used to using skillful game on high-level white folks. So a dumb sergeant used to be a sergeant. Police was just a dummy. Boss man, we're trying to get 50 pounds of raisins in there. For digestion. You need 50 pounds of raisins for your digestion? Yes, sir. An old dumb boss man would let the nigga go in there and get 50 pounds of raisins. You need anything else? Oh, them old dry apples you got over there, boss. Y'all ain't gonna use them, I know. I could stand a few of them, just about 20 pounds of dry apples and prunes. They used to call it pruno, you know. Right? Tell the truth. You need anything else there, Johnny? Oh, boss, I don't need it. I best guess I could stand just a little bit of that, a little bit of sugar, and let me take some of that bread, that old bread. I don't need no fresh bread. And he takes about 20 loaves of jailhouse bread, soak it in water, right? What rises to the top? Yeast. Takes a few cups of that yeast, drop it in there with that other, and if you're lucky it don't explode. Good God Almighty. And the Negro be drunk for 3 weeks, because then he just gotta mash it. That's what the old Negroes from the South would do. And we was a smart, arrogant niggas from West Coast. Police, you kiss my behind. I ain't doing nothing. Oh, boss man. So and so. He just needs a little bit of this in here, a little bit of that and that. And I didn't, but the other Negroes had to buy all their stuff from them Southern Negroes, because they was making all the wine, all the pruno, all the raisin jack. And everybody was walking around the yard laughing and turning flips and falling out. And they was getting it from the Negroes from down in Dixie. And we had to buy, I didn't drink then, but all of my homeboys, if they wanted a good shot, They had to get it from the brothers, a good tumbler full of wine, alcohol, whatever you want to call it. I'm trying to tell you this. The Negro has a special gift. Don't nobody know he got it with him. Right? But when they see it, ask anybody here. When we was passing out free food over there, what was that, ICNA? Was that ICNA over there? Big, like y'all get down there. You won't get them this week. Don't worry, next week it'll be fine. Big old, you see them big old, that's a quarter chicken. And we was giving that away free with all that rice with good hot Pakistani flavor in it. Hey, man, the line was around the block. So they sent a Pakistani guy there. Y'all remember that? Right, with a halal store. Can I help? Please let me help. We said, oh, no, we got it. They wanted him to stand there to do what? To make everybody think that niggas not giving you this. The Pakistani halal market is giving you this free. Because niggas ain't going to give you nothing free. And it's good, too. And people standing in line, that's why people know what you got. They don't want you to use it. Nobody wants you to use what Allah already gave you. You already got natural in it what to whoop boss man with. Everybody else had to do a 15 or 30-year study. And they'll hit him every now and then. But you've been laying with the boss man. You've been, when the mama want to put the baby to sleep, what do? Lay down and put the baby right on her breast, right? What the baby do? Go to sleep. Why? Because the baby, remember, the rhythm is only a few months back, right? The rhythm, the body, all of that. So the baby is going to sleep. Now, not that you will go to sleep, but you the only one been right up next to boss man, and you don't use it. You the only one been right up next to boss man. The world needs the Negro. And also the world likes the Negro. They don't want you to know it. They sell out. I was going through Kansas City where they had a big baseball, some years ago. I rinsed my car off. And I pulled in there, all the white kids in Kansas City, they was listening to 100%. Shoot that nigga, get that nigga, run that nigga down. These white kids. And then the rhythm, the beat, you think y'all got the rhythm? You ought to see white folks when they get juiced up on the Negro. Hey, man, you got friends and don't know it. People follow you and you don't know it. People copy you and you don't know it. In fact, you think they copy boss man? No, they copy the Negro. Because the Negro got soul, they got rhythm, right? Everybody in the world know that, but the Negro. He look in the mirror, he said, well, you're a sad fellow. You don't have nothing to offer humanity. You got everything to offer humanity, right? And now it's time to start doing it. That you offer the people what Allah gave you. You ain't been here for all of this time for nothing, right? And so now, if we can do it, I'd have punked the FBI. Yeah. Islam, true liberation, right? Psychological guerrilla warfare. Number one, the white man don't know what we're talking about. What kind of guerrilla warfare is that? Let's have a study on what the nigga's talking about. And he called all the niggas. And the new niggas don't know because they ain't been around no time, right? And the old niggas don't know. Well, boss man, here's what I think it means. And they stalled the boss man to keep their job for 5 or 10 years. You're a stall boss man. You don't know what it is either. The Negro don't know. And so, all that time, we just stick and move. And I'm going to say this is not bragging. Dear believers, we've been battling boss man for a long time. So it's not luck. We had to stay woke. We had to stay alive. And if you can come back in the country with all this, that means boss man know where you're coming from. If you have the president of Iran call you at the hospital, there he is, little guy right there, call you at the hospital, at GW, the line is clicking all the time. Well, I hope you get well. Number one, it does us good because I can tell him, I say, your staff is loaded with the police. And he's thankful for that. Yeah, I knew it was a few. No, it's not a few. No, sirree. You got a whole crew with you. So they get the chance to use that. Like we get the boss man on the line here, we can teach the Iranians how to fill up their line. And they can get the boss man on the line Iranian style. Why do you think Iranian politics is working so well? When did it kick in? What year did it kick in? When did they start hitting punches? Boom, boom, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't know. You figure it out. I tell you, boss man's still trying to figure it out. Somebody is aiding him. Y'all remember a movie with, what's the guy that beat the other guy up over? He made a movie with CIA stuff. He was a lawyer over here. And an enemy of the state. Now, you remember that was back in the 80s and the 90s, something, all that stuff they had then, So, what you do is you estimate how fast they accelerate, what they're going to acquire at what time. It's just an estimation, but it's an educated guess, right? In warfare, sometimes you make educated guesses. Then you can estimate, you look at history, how much and how often can we mislead boss man? That's right. Then you mislead him. Then you send the code to your friends. Whatever friends you have, whoever they are, I ain't going to say, this is our friend, that's our friend. You send the codes. And then they get the code. Then they add their own stuff, what they done acquired. What you'll get to is a period where the United States is falling far behind. The United States have sent an old crippled lady to harass China. And they want to get a war going fast because the United States is based on war, right? Wartime economy. They can't outproduce, nor can they outdistribute China. That's over. So what we can do is slow them down, but they done made a mistake, right? What can they do about Europe? We'll get this last little, and I'll close in a minute, this last little thing they did in Ukraine. Why? Because we got to get this going before winter. So they give them more money, more of your tax money. You can't get, they going to give y'all $20,000 to pay off $100,000 school debt, right? How many trillions of dollars do they send to Ukraine. How many trillions of dollars? They said we don't have no money. How many? I'm asking you a question. How many of y'all sitting here watch your eagles fly over there and land in Ukraine? And ain't none of them trained to land in your backyard, right? None of them. Okay, that's going to work for a while, but the Russian winter is coming. The European winter is coming. A large part of Europe is within the Arctic Circle. A lot of Europe, not all of it. Some of it way down south like Spain and all of it. But some of it is up within, you look at it, within the Arctic Circle. That part is going to freeze to death. And they're going to need all of the surplus gas that they can get their hands on to do what? To warm themselves up. That's why we said last week at our Move to Water close. All the people got to do is take pictures of white women laying on the beach in L.A. and all that, right? And Florida. And distribute it in front of European embassies, right? Just the pictures while their teeth is chattering. You know, heat is one thing, but cold is another. Y'all know when it gets real cold, suppose you got to get in that door and you got to get a key to it. Won't, you can't do it, right? It's too cold. You done dropped the key. You can't get a grip. Imagine Europe. And I'll move toward a close with this. The Russian winter has defeated Napoleon. It's defeated Adolf Hitler. Now it's going to defeat everybody else. Right now, today. The Russian winter. Ukraine is still within Russia. The other part, there's a huge part of Europe within the Arctic Circle. Europe. Caves and hillside. It's within the Arctic Circle. All of Europe is going broke, not the U.S. How do you think the people in Europe are going to look at their old friend, America? I'm telling you, believers, we've been doing this a long time. Take it easy. I'm getting a little dizzy up here. I haven't ate no food in a while, but that ain't nothing. I ain't going to collapse, but if you see me take a little dip, just put a little fan, and, I'll be all right, because I'm enjoying this. Look. In closing, that's one of the things that you have to have. Enjoy what you're doing and have confidence in yourself. You gotta have confidence in yourself. And then study history. Boss man haven't been in this type of fight. Just like George Foreman never went over 4 or 5 rounds. He never had to because he knocked everybody out. Boss man knocks everybody out till us. We've been doing this for over 50 years and having fun at it all the time. Boss man is finished. And 5 or 10 other people going to get the field. They're going to say, if that nigga can do it, that's what we say. If that nigga can do it, I don't know how it's working. But I'm going to try. They may get the stew beat out of them, busted all upside the head talking about the white man. But that'll help them wake up. You know what I mean? That'll help the Negroes wake up. Maybe a few of our people always talking out the side about short pants wearing people and stuff. Maybe they bust a few of them upside the head and wake them up. They can't put them no more to sleep than they already are, but they might wake them up. In closing, I'm going to just put up a few things. Psychological guerrilla warfare. These are all old. We've been doing this a long time. The other stuff, psycho-spiritual warfare. We've been doing it all the time. Islamic Institute for Counter-Zionist American Psychological Warfare. We've been in this all the time, and we haven't lost not one single round. That's our count. We haven't lost not one single round. And all things have to do is keep on the way it's going. That way, boss man will kill himself because he's not going to give Europe any free gas and oil. He's going to charge them. But he's the one told them, right? Y'all got to starve out the Russians, right? But Germany, who's bad, they're going to say, wait a minute, man, you told us to stay off of that. We got a pipeline, and you won't give us no free ride. If we allies, you're supposed to help us for free. If you got free weapons, right, for Ukraine, what about some freedom for us, for our industry, right? I'm just trying to tell you, boss man is trapped. Don't let nothing else have to happen. He's already trapped. There's no way he can maneuver out of this trap. Why? Because he built the trap for himself, and he can't unlock. He don't have no key to unlock it, right? Because his nafs built it, his greed built it, his insensitivity to the world built it. So, dear believers, we'll close with this. O Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief, lack of strength and laziness, cowardice and niggardliness. And we seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. O Allah, suffice us with what is lawful, keep from us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from want of what is besides thee. Ameen. Kamati Salat.